Welcome to the Floral Shop podcast, where flowers and business blend seamlessly. Join our journey to uncover the secrets of elite event designers and get insights into the art of running a successful floral shop. Here is your host, Ziv Raviv.
Hello and welcome to the Floral Shop podcast. Today with me is Randy Katz from Aguita Flowers, all the way from Washington. The farm is actually in Virginia. Hello, Randy. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
It's not every day that we get to explore the world of flower farming and learn more about this part of the industry. A lot of retailers, they know they have a wholesaler, they get their flowers from them, but they don't know about all of the opportunities to experience the nature side of being a florist and also the business side of being a florist with a farm. So tell us a little bit, how did you find yourself dabbling with flowers?
Well, this is my third profession. I started as a graphic designer. Then I followed that with landscape design, which I was always in between those two professions. As a little kid, I wasn't sure what I wanted to become, either a graphic designer or a landscape architect. And so first there was graphic design, then landscape design. And then I really sort of came across the Floret workshop. And I was intrigued and I just wanted to do it and wasn't sure if I'm really going to do something like that. But then I did and bought a farm in Virginia. First, I wanted to just grow peonies. I thought that would suit my lifestyle well, that I just focus on one flower. But then, of course, curiosity as it goes. And I started growing some other flowers. And so now it's a lot of different flowers. Also, I bought the farm from two old ladies that were really into gardening. And the first year was sort of like I got a present every week because they planted so many bulbs. And so it started with crocus and it looked like, my husband said, like, it looks like Easter threw up all over the farm. And then it continued with daffodils, which I wasn't a big fan of. But you know what? I found so many different varieties and they were so beautiful that I now planted more and more different varieties myself. So it's just every year I add something, a different flower to experiment with to see, do I like to grow it or not? But peonies are my passion. They definitely are. And I have like over 1,000 peony plants and so many different varieties. And it's beautiful every year just to see how different they all are. And I just love them.
I want to ask you about the seasonal aspect of running a flower farm, because some of these flowers, they really do have a short season. And then what do you do for the rest of the year? So how does that work for you?
Oh, it works beautifully. I love actually the downtime in winter, but that's also the time where you do a lot of planning. You know, what do you want to plant? And I start a lot of things from seed and you start those early in the year and the winter time. So you're busy that way, nurturing those. And in the summertime, I actually really planned it that way that I wouldn't have much to harvest in the summertime because I don't know if it's the same everywhere, but here in DC, people seem to be traveling a lot in the summer and the demand for flowers is not as high. So I'm planning accordingly. And that means in the summertime, I mean, you have plenty of work. There's weeding, there's so many other things. But yes, the income during the summertime is not great. But in the wintertime for income, you know, I do flower subscription, a peony flower subscription. And people usually sign up in December, like a good part of the people sign up in December, giving it as a present to somebody, a present for themselves, like a present for themselves for the future, for the springtime. And they're getting beautiful peonies once a week. So it works really well for me. I'm not complaining. I actually like the quieter time in the winter time. And I really appreciate the quieter time in the right now we have super hot weather. I had some dahlias earlier and they looked so beautiful. But now with this heat that we're having, they're just giving up until the fall, when they're sort of when they're rejuvenated with the cooler weather and the shorter daytime.
So you decided to buy this farm, and you had experience with landscaping, so that helped a little bit, I guess, just from the skills point of view. What did you have to learn when you started out?
Oh, everything. Well, I mean, you're right. I did know a lot about plants from my previous career, and I've been always into growing things. As a kid, I loved to grow vegetables. So everything is a little exaggerated, but and I did plant peonies before, but still there's so much to learn about harvest time, how do you store them properly, extending basically the season is pretty short. My season is like 6 weeks with the peonies because I planted so many different varieties that it stretches over 6 weeks. But still, how do you continue? How long can you keep them in the cooler? And also things like bug pressure. I've been learning a lot about the soil. I want to grow as sustainable as possible. I'm trying to also on the whole farm to get rid of invasives. So I feel like I've been listening to podcasts over so many podcasts, and I almost feel like I got a PhD in podcasts. And so you learn as you go. But the reason why I was attracted to peonies also is that there's no deer pressure. They don't eat them. Very little bug pressure. And the one problem that there is like a fungus. And so I'm trying to learn as best to, what to do to avoid it once you have it. I did have it last season, of what to do. So it's a constant learning experience owning a farm.
Do you have any livestock of any kind in your farm?
Well, it used to be a horse breeding farm. So I have a beautiful stable, and I took 2 of the stables and made them into my studio space. And so, I have how many? 6. We have 6 horses there right now. They're not mine. That would kill me. It's just too much. But they're there. They're beautiful. I love them. I have chickens. So that is also fun. There's, I don't know how many cats. Like I have these barn cats, and I have 2 little houses on the property that I rent out. One is rent out to this older lady, and she feeds the cats so much food that they're not really catching the mice they're supposed to. So I have like 6 really fat barn cats.
Nice. So what's the business model? How do you actually make money with peonies growing for 6 weeks and maybe dahlias going for I don't know how long? So how do you actually sustain yourself?
So, I mean, peonies are one of the highest paying crops. So, and I sell to florists, I sell to individuals. I have my peony subscription. I'm planning next year to do farmers market. So it is the main source of income. But like I said, I'm planting more and more different flowers. So the florists I'm working with, it's it's a beautiful relationship because I basically text them what I just have right now. And it's a big farm. It's almost 50 acres. So if they need greens or anything, they can text me and say like, oh, I'm making a flower arch. I need a lot of greens, and I can cut whatever they need. So there is that relationship is ongoing throughout the year, not in the winter time. And yes, I mean, I'm sure other flower farms can make more money, but for me, just focusing on the peonies and then the other things. I love these relationships with florists and the customers. So if a customer has like a dinner party and they're saying like, oh, could you just make an arrangement? It's also one of my favorite things. I just walk over the farm, see what's available right now, and I make something with it. And I really enjoy that.
How did you get people to know about your Peonies subscription?
It was mainly word of mouth. I have a few friends who are just great supporters, and they just tell everybody. So that sort of, a few people doing really good PR for me I'm very grateful for.
You ever get into this situation where you are at the end of the season and you have leftovers of peonies, and what do you do then?
I have my greatest supporters, biggest promoters. They all get like big bunches of flowers. This season, I had a end of the season sale. I donate flowers to this family shelter where I'm close to my farm. So I try once a month, I bring them flowers. That's sort of a thing I love to do, like just sharing flowers with people that don't necessarily expect it. And giving people joy is definitely one of my favorite things to do.
What's your vision for Aguita Flowers? Where are you going with the farm? Like what some type of changes you want to implement over the next few years?
So I feel that I have some help, but I feel I need more help. I need more. Yeah, I just need more help. I need to hire probably one or two people to really help me with the sales on the farm part-time. So that's sort of something. But I'm really quite happy with where my business is. I keep on thinking that I'm gonna streamline and that I'm gonna say, okay, one of my many things that I'm doing, maybe I'm just gonna not do that anymore. But I really do like everything. I sell flowers to this little local market, and I just really enjoy hearing from people who've been buying the flowers. I love the flower subscription. I love my work with the florists. So I really don't know what to cut. I always thought I would find this one thing that I don't love doing and that I'm just going to get rid of that part of my business and focus more on other parts. But maybe what I love is that I do have all these different things going on, and maybe I would get bored if I would just streamline and do one of them.
Well, it does sound like there's some pleasure and balance in what you do right now. And I think that when you kind of listen to yourself when I listen to you and the way you talk about it, it really sounds like it's enjoyable as a balancing act. It doesn't matter if it's because it's interesting or because it's different emotional needs to satisfy, but it does sound like it's more important than making more money by, I don't know what, focusing on this amazing new co-op. What's the hardest part for someone that is considering setting up a flower farm and buying land for it and whatnot? What's the hardest part they're going to need to tackle at the beginning?
I'm talking with my childhood friend. She just started a small flower farm. So I've been talking to her a lot. And my advice has certainly been to not take on too many different flowers. I think that can very quickly become overwhelming because there's so many parts that you don't really think about when you're starting the flower farm. I didn't really think about pest management. I didn't think about no-till farming. And so the more you do, the more you learn, and the more I want to know. I really want to dig deeper into soil biology and surprise myself that that's something that I really would like to know more about. So I think start small. So for example, like this local market, I just, it's so much fun and it's so easy. I just grab a few flowers, wrap them and put a little paper around them and take them to the shop. And there's no pressure. And there is, it's just pure joy, really. The subscriptions gave me more stress in the beginning when I was more unexperienced because I kept on thinking, oh my God, I'm not going to have enough flowers. What am I going to do? How am I going to supplement it? I did belong to a flower co-op for a short period of time. Then unfortunately they didn't make it. That was beautiful because then you have other farmers you could buy from if you need it. But I have the contacts now, so if I need something else, I can talk to them. And in general, I feel flower farmers are really generous with sharing their knowledge. I've been talking to many flower farmers when I started, and I've been surprised every single time when I wrote to somebody that they would take their time and answer and give me their their experience and time, which is, really a wonderful thing.
What's the most expensive equipment that you need in order to run a farm, a flower farm?
I think the cooler was probably the most expensive. And I was lucky because I have a very good friend who bought a farm and they had a cooler on the property that he didn't want. So I took that one, but still taking the cooler down, building it up and getting a technician to get it all started properly. That was quite a big expense. Obviously, if you start with peonies, the peony roots are also quite an investment. A lot of people therefore start with annuals and just grow things from seed. And I actually didn't necessarily want to start that quickly. I planted all my peonies and I thought, oh, great, in 3 years I will have a big harvest. And that's going to give me time to learn more, to build up a market. And that kind of didn't work because I got too many other flowers. So like I had this wonderful woman Jillian, she is a great flower farmer, and she worked with me for a short period of time. And she said, oh, let's plant these tulips, let's plant this, let's plant that. And I suddenly was faced with all these tulips that you have to harvest like 2 or 3 times a day because otherwise they open up too much. And I didn't really have a customer base yet. So that was really challenging. So I think really, again, like to your question about what is hard and how to start, I think start small, find your customer base and grow that way.
Just out of curiosity, like how much does it cost to buy a plant, like a peony plant for a farmer?
So you buy them wholesale, and so basically you have to buy them in bigger quantities. It's either 25 roots or 50 roots. And like a Sarah Bernard, which is sort of like the standard flower, that would go for probably roughly $5. But you can buy peony roots for $2,000. And I talked to this distributor in Holland and I said, who buys these? Who buys a $2,000 root? And he said that he has a lot of Russian clients and they buy it and it's like a status symbol. They grow them and people really know their peonies apparently. So if you give that kind of peony as a present, people will know, oh, this is the $2,000 peony. So,
interesting.
Not mine. I don't have those.
So you could buy like a root for $5.
Yeah, or even some of them even a little bit less. Yeah.
And how long will it take? It will take 3 years before it gives you flowers that you can crop.
Yeah, so you're not supposed to harvest them for the first 3 years, but I mean, I cheated a little bit. I definitely I was not that patient. So the second year, I definitely started harvesting a little bit. But what I did, because basically you want to give the roots as much strength as possible. And the strength they get from the leaves. So photosynthesis and on all that. So the second year when I started cutting the flowers, I cut them short. So it was not a long stem peony, but that gave me a lot of pleasure. And that's how I also got started, like building up my customer base.
And how many years can a peony live?
50. I mean, 30 is like definitely 30 years. I heard 50 years. They're really, they're a tough plant. And it's great because every year you'll get, if the plant is happy, every year you get like a few more stems. I mean, I'm counting, and that's very conservative, 10 flowers per plant, but it's really more than that. I would say at least 15 to 20 flowers per plant. And this year, you can also, the way you can store them, peonies are really interesting that way because you can dry store them, meaning you put them in your cooler at 34 degrees, so almost freezing. You wrap them in paper, and I just last week took out some that were just lying there, not looking very happy. And you cut off like an inch of the stem, you put them in water, they rehydrate. And then obviously not as great as the fresh flower you cut in May, but absolutely you can use them for event work. And some of them, last really maybe 4 days. but I would I would not sell them to anybody who wants to put them in their vase. It would just really be for event work. And then I heard that you can freeze them, just like freezing. I put a whole bunch in my freezer. Thought like, oh, let me experiment. It was a disaster. They all came out brown and mushy. That did not work for me.
Interesting. Well, I'm sure that the listeners learned a lot. I learned a bunch, and it's really interesting to learn about your journey and your lifestyle and just those peonies and their life cycle. So thank you, Randy, for sharing all of this with us all the way from Washington with your farm in Virginia. People can learn more about you by going to aguitaflowers.com, and we will put the link to aguitaflowers.com on our show notes and your social media account so people can learn more and follow you. And now, if you're ready, we're going to play the Floral Shop Podcast game show. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Yay. So question number 1. What is the benefit of using seasonal flowers in arrangements? A, they last longer in water. B, they are fresher and more vibrant. C, they are less expensive. Or D, they require no care.
I would say B. I mean, they are beautiful and fresh.
Yes, and you're correct, of course. Question number 2. What environmental impact is often associated with mass-produced flowers? Is it A, high chemical use and transportation emission? B, they attract more insects? C, they bloom too quickly? Or D, they use less water?
Definitely A.
You're correct. That's one of the exciting opportunities of working with a farm flower locally because there's less transportation emissions, for example, and less chemical use. Question number 3. Which flower type is typically best for seasonal arrangement? Is it A, annuals, B, plastic flowers, C, exotic flowers, or D, perennials?
Well, A and D, really both.
Interesting. So you'll use annuals as well. Why not? Yeah. And I'll accept this answer. We were thinking about perennials, but sure, why not actually? Good point. What is a key characteristic of flowers grown using natural methods? Is it A, they can be preserved indefinitely? B, they are all large in size? C, they are free from harmful chemicals? Or D, they change colors with the seasons?
C, definitely C.
You're correct. And last question, this one you have to know. What is the average lifespan of cut peonies in a vase? Is it A, 1 to 2 days, B, 10 to 14 days, C, 5 to 7 days, or D, forever if cared for well?
C, definitely C, like 5 to 7 days is expected from peonies.
Even with the $2,000 peonies?
Well, even with the $2,000 peony. But what is interesting, there's definitely different peony types. It's like you have the double ones that are really fluffy, and they typically last longer. And then you have the open ones, the single ones, and they typically don't last as long. So I grow a lot of these Ito peonies, and they are mixed. They're a hybrid of a tree peony and a herbaceous peony. And there usually are these open ones that come in these most stunning flower colors. But the problem with them is they just don't last as long.
So many types of peonies that we need to learn about. So thank you so much. You win. Randy, you won. You win the game show. We're going to give you the gift of creating a newsletter plan for your specific business so that anyone that buys through you, the subscriptions, or they buy from you in any other way, you can stay in touch with them with weekly emails. And we're going to design with all these peonies pictures that you have on your site of pretty peonies. We're going to design the newsletter for you, for your own use. And we're going to share with you a training of how to actually use the content plan that is unique to your brand and the newsletter, and stay in touch with past clients so that they could know when you have something blooming and can enjoy your subscriptions.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for being a guest in the Floral Show podcast. And thank you, everyone, for listening for another episode. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning into the Floral Shop podcast. For more floral resources and stories, visit our website, floralshoppodcast.com, or step into our school at floralshopacademy.com. Don't forget to subscribe for our next flowery adventure. Keep blooming until we meet again.